being a super connector isn't just about knowing people. It's about bringing the right people together in a way that creates real opportunities. So on this episode, we're diving into why the best business relationships are built on mutual benefit. We're going to talk about how to open sales conversations. And we're also going to talk about how to network in a way that adds real value instead of just pitching to everybody. So welcome into It's Not Just Talking. I'm your executive producer, Vince Quinn, here to help you sharpen your podcast strategy, improve your production processes, and build your hosting skills so that you can put more time back into your business. And joining us today is Anthony Markey. Anthony is the creator of I Know a Guy, which is a daily newsletter and podcast, which, disclaimer, is a lot of work and not for everybody. But Anthony does it and does it well. He's doing it through storytelling, collaboration, and he connects his audience with inspiring people and actionable insights every single day. Here's our conversation. All right, so I know a guy. His name is Anthony Markey, and he is with me right now. And Anthony, I want to start with the name of your show because I think that's one of the big challenges that people have in general. And for your show, it's so good. I Know a Guy. I mean, how did you come up with I Know a Guy?
Happy accident. It's something I had over a year before I started using it for this, where it was, just like my X handle, where it's like, okay, you know what, I'm in that space where I don't necessarily do any selling or anything myself. A lot of it's informing and introducing. So it's like, hey, I know a guy, I got a guy. And then when I started interviewing other entrepreneurs, it's like, well, that kind of fits actually, because I'm talking about them and who they are and getting to know them and making better connections with it. And it's like, well, IKAG, I know a guy, I know a gal. It works for everything. So it just kind of just serendipitous the way it worked out, but it's definitely on brand for everything that I've been doing. So really kind of hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah, okay, and it's cool because you solidified this in a sense then before you even started the show because it is your X account and it was something that, like, in terms of identity, you were already doing. So, I mean, from that standpoint, like, how does it progress? How did it start then on X or Twitter for the people who forget what X is? But, like, how did it start in that space? And then how did you decide, how easy was it to transition that to a podcast?
Well, yeah, I mean, on X, it never really took off into anything. It was just a way for me to, reach out to other people in the entrepreneur space, leave comments, reply guy, that kind of stuff. And it was something that a buddy and mine were going to devote more and more time to. And you know how those things go. You kind of start heavy and then you start to slow down and eventually it wanes and you don't do it anymore. And then a year later, I was meeting a lot of awesome people, doing a lot of awesome things. And just based on what I do and, the people I'm talking to, they were never going to be clients of mine because, they have to have a certain size. And most people you meet networking aren't that. Like, a lot of them are just your solopreneurs. So I was like, well, you know what? I want to be able to add value to these people. They're doing awesome things. I'm, spending all this time with them anyway. I might as well do as much for them as I can. And it kind of just came all together where it's like, hey, love to have you on as a guest. We'll talk about you. I'll record it and I'll share it. And then, I was like, hey, I already got the name. I know a guy. I might as well just throw it on there and boom, there it goes.
Yeah, and I love the whole idea because at the core of this, like, you're a connector. And I think what you're saying is something that is so true and interesting and valuable for a lot of people that are listening, which is the idea of, and it's a case for me. A lot of the people that I talk to, they're not my client, right? Like, there's plenty. I'm helping businesses with podcasts. Like, this is so goddamn niche, So it's like, okay, how many people would ever even consider starting a show, have an active show, are in a business position to be able to do that? So, yeah, my whole thing has been awareness, right? Like, everything that we do with this company, it's always, how can we get the word out as much as possible? And then at the same time, as I'm doing all these different networking events, I'm joining networking groups and stuff all the time, like just trying to be in the scene to have those opportunities to say, oh, yes, I can actually help you and the benefits of that. Like, I think there's really something to be said for almost the power position, as much as you're not doing it in like that kind of way, like a malicious way, but just be able to be like, yeah, I know a ton of people. Like, how can I help you out? How can I put you places? And just the natural, like, social benefits of being a guy in the middle.
No, there's definitely a benefit there because, everybody wants to meet a connector because it's like, well, that one connection is worth 100. I've had friends of mine that are really great connectors. I'm met them and then like over a year period, they've made like 300 introductions for me. That's invaluable. I don't care what your industry is, meeting more people is going to help you out. And when I started talking to entrepreneurs about this, I was like, okay, I'll just start interviewing a couple people a day, a couple people a month, and it turns out entrepreneurs really like to talk about themselves. So there's no limit to the amount of people out there that want to talk about what they're doing. And that's not a bad thing. If you're not talking about what you're doing, who's going to talk about it for you? So just providing that platform and that way for people to genuinely get across who they are and what they're doing, and being able to share with others and say, you know what, I don't know if this is going to be a good connection for you, but I'm going to send it to a couple people and they'll let me know if they want to meet you, because then your feelings aren't hurt because nobody's told you no to your face. And the person going into those meetings already know who you are, what you do, and what you love about you, what you do. So they're coming into that more like that second meeting where they're not like, oh, what's your favorite color? It's like, well, it's obviously green, right? There's some hints. So it's more of, hey, I saw your episode. You mentioned this. I wanted to ask you a follow-up question. So it's just trying to help people make genuine connections, and do it, every single day.
Yeah, and I love that. And one of the things too, to that point of like, hey, I'm not sure if this is an exact fit for you, so I'm gonna figure out, like, let me go figure this out for you. One of the things that I've done too, because for me being in the media space, like I had somebody recently ask me about branding, which is not exactly what I do, right? Like obviously running a show is branding, so I need to figure out what this person's business brand is and how does that apply to the show. Are we labeling it as something different, whatever. But like when it comes to truly, am I a outright branding guy? No. And so somebody asked me, they're like, hey, I want to connect with somebody in branding. So what I did was I sent them 3 different people that are all in the branding space in different ways. And I said, look, these are all people that I know. I'm not saying that any of them is the exact right fit for you, but hey, yeah, same idea, right? If any of these people are a fit, great. And for me, I don't feel like, because sometimes, I don't know if you've ever had this experience where like you recommend somebody because you're like, oh, I had a great conversation with them, they're interesting, and then they just totally flop on the other end when you know what I mean? It's like, I thought you had this under control. What happened? And so to see that change, it's like it feels like it gives me that kind of separation where it's like, okay, I'm not actively endorsing all of these people, but I do know them and I think they can be valuable, and if I could facilitate like that has been something valuable for me. It's been a very useful trick, because yeah, you just never know if the exact fit, like how it's totally going to go.
Yeah, I don't know who needs to meet who, but you're exactly right. I'm going to send you 3 episodes with 3 different people that are all in the same space that you said you need help with. If any of them make sense, let me know. I'm happy to make that introduction. If not, great. I'll send you 3 more. I just need to know exactly who you want to meet, and I'm not gatekeeping who needs to meet whom. It's, here they are. Let me know. I'll be happy to make those introductions, because, yeah, that's how it is. You have one person you refer one time and then they do something kind of, off kilter, then you get that bad look too. If they go in and do a good job, you get the gold star with them. But if they do the, opposite, you take that blame too. So it is a nice tool to have, to be, hey, can you help me with this? No, but I know a guy, let me make an introduction or 3. So then that kind of alleviates a lot of it from me.
Yeah, and it makes it easier too, because it's like, oh, that went really well. So if I need somebody for that, then I will go to that person. You know what I mean? Like it's in a sense, it's your own science experiments as you're bringing people together. But it's really fun to do that, and it is so interesting, and that's one of the beauties of podcasting, right? I mean, like, because now you've been doing the show, you have over 100 episodes, and I know in how short of a time, by the way, have you hit 100 episodes? When did you start this?
So my first episode went out on October 1st of 24. So we're going on 5 months. And it was something that I was like, yeah, like I said, first I was like, I'll just do a couple a month. And it's like, well, now we're doing it every single day, where one's coming out. So yeah, we're over 100. We have about another 50 recorded, ready to go, and about another 50 in booking, because like I said, entrepreneurs, they want to talk about themselves. So I'm just there to, help facilitate that. So it's been a lot quickly. But I think that's a good thing, because I've been able to go out and make a bunch of mistakes, learn what I'm doing wrong, guest on shows like yours, where I see how people that actually know what they're doing do it, and then copy it exactly, and then just do it that way from then on out. So it's been huge learning experience.
Yeah, I mean, for what you've done, because it's so interesting, right? And this is really one of the things that I admire about you, is to be able to start a show like this and then just be super committed to it. And like, I'm going to do this every day. I'm going to get all these episodes out. I mean, 100 episodes since October. As we're recording this, it's middle of February. Like, that's no joke, man. And for starting this show, like, so many people don't even make it to 4 episodes. And for you to be like, I'm just going to post this all the time, I'm going to make this commitment and do that, it's really admirable, and it's not something that a lot of people are able to do. So, like, congratulations to you for having that kind of commitment to build this sort of thing, and to get these many episodes out. So, like, what was it like for you then, just to go through this process? Because, again, for even people to do like a fifth of this amount of work, I think is a lot. How were you able to make this commit? Like, how did you get to this point where you were able to get this many episodes, this many people in advance? Like, how did you tackle this problem?
Yeah, so there's a couple different angles to that. I always thought I was really, really lazy. And the reason being, what I was doing for a good period of time, it was a struggle. I knew I had X amount of things I needed to get done. I had to, make so many phone calls. I had to resolve so many leads. I had to do whatever it was. And it was like pulling teeth. It was every day. I was like, well, tomorrow I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it better. I'm going to really put my nose to the grindstone. And it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. And when I do a little bit. And it was just a grind the entire time. And then, one of the things that I started doing more and more as a way to kind of waste time and get away from what I should have been doing, was just networking in general. So I was just talking to a lot of awesome people, trying to make connections where I could. Like I said, they were never going to be clients of mine. So it wasn't necessarily the best use of my time, but I started to realize that's something that I really enjoyed doing. That wasn't hard to do. And then I was like, okay, well, now I want to add value. So I started doing this. And like I said, I started not knowing anything. I still barely know anything, but I've done a lot more of it. To where, I've done over 100 episodes in the period of time, but that's more work than it was to do what I was doing before, but I'm enjoying it. So it's not like it was. So it's easier for me to go and put in 8 hours doing this, as opposed to what it was to go and try and get 3 hours of doing what I was doing before. So it's finding out that the part that I liked was this part here, and then focusing on how to do more of that. It turned that into something has been the most fun part of it. And then on top of that, just understanding that I'm making mistakes that I don't even know I'm making. And then, like I said, guesting on other shows, watching videos, kind of absorbing that, and then making tweaks along the way. Because I didn't start off doing an episode a day. It was okay, I have 3 this week. I have 5 this week. Okay, I have so many people that want to come on. I need to up it. So getting more and more efficient, finding more and more tools to use, and being able to produce it all just, myself. Okay, I'm going to tweak this. That means I can do this much. I'm going to block off this day to where I'm not doing any recordings or anything. I can literally just focus on admin work and things like that. But I think the biggest key to it was just realizing I enjoy doing this. And if I want to do this forever, I need to do as much as I can now to get there quicker. So it was just, I enjoyed doing it, and it stopped feeling like work. It's work. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of days where I'm like, oh, that was a lot, but it feels better than what I was doing before.
Yeah, it's such a nice thing, right? Because like being able to talk to somebody and build a natural relationship, and on the selfish side of like talking to these experts in all these different fields, right? It's like, oh, well, you know some stuff that I don't know anything about, and to be able to set up that opportunity to learn as you're marketing at the same time and filling out your social channels and all, like it's just such a beautiful thing. Like it really is a joy to be able to meet so many different people. For me, I've always been a talker. Like I was terrible in school, and I thought I was lazy, and teachers thought I was lazy. The truth is, I just didn't care what they were talking about. Like I was totally unmotivated. I wasn't going to do anything in science or math or whatever. Like I got into sports radio for 10 years. Like you can't teach that in school, So it's like that's just who I was and how it evolved. And now I'm at this point where it's like, hey, I get to talk to business owners about their businesses and their podcasts and how they tie together. Like this is the greatest thing ever. Yeah. So same thing. Like it's such a joy. But I think the important thing that you mentioned too, just on top of that, like natural joy, is I harp on this a lot. And if you've listened to people who've listened previously, like I've done episodes about this, dedicating the time. I mean, can you talk a little bit about the ways that you go about dedicating that time a little bit more? Because I think that's it's literally when I'm telling people when they're launching a show that they want to start doing it, that is literally my first step. I say, if you don't reserve a day and time that you're going to do this, it's going to fall apart. So like how do you treat time when you're managing a show like this at this scale?
You really got to control your calendar. When I first started, I would just send my 45-minute Zoom link out to everybody and be like, grab a time, we'll figure it out. And that got busy fast, right? To where it's like, okay, when am I going to edit? When am I going to get these things out? How am I going to do this in some sort of an efficient manner? So being able to control your calendar, saying, okay, these are the times where I'm actually going to do recordings. These are the times when I'm just going to have like initial meetings, kind of just meeting with people. This is going to be my just standard networking time. This is going to be the time where I do the rest of the work I'm supposed to be doing. And like I said, recently I took Fridays and I go, okay, all day Friday is all my admin work. So I don't have to worry about it through the rest of the week. I can just do the bits that I need to. And then once that, that hour's up, I can move on to whatever my next, my next project is. And I don't have to worry about the following stuff because I have all day Friday to catch up on it. Cause if I'm doing one episode, a day, that's 7 a week. If it takes me 30 minutes worth of, editing and tweaking and everything, I can do all that comfortably on Friday without having to be bogged down. I can have a couple minutes to kind of just get up, walk around, stretch my legs, things. So it's just controlling your calendar is absolutely for you. So you're absolutely right. If you're just kind of throwing it at the wall, that'll work at first. But you're going to need to get more efficient quickly and plan out your days and how you're going to do it, because without structure, it's going to be a mess and it's going to come back and bite you.
Yeah, it's the biggest thing. People just chase constantly. I mean, for me, the way I've done this, and I mean, when I sent you the link to book this very recording that we're doing now, like for me, it's Mondays and Fridays, right? Like so this is a studio that we operate. So on Mondays, usually me and Taylor, who's my business partner, he's engineering the show right now. Like we come out on Monday, we handle a bunch of stuff. We're recording all these different kinds of things. It's episodes of the show. It's things we might need for our website or whatever. So we're always doing that. We know this is our time. We're in the space. We're operating the show together. So somebody books on a Monday, great. Fridays, occasionally I'm working from home, but all the same, I have a studio set up there, and I don't have to worry about it through the other parts of the week. Because Monday, like a personal experience has been Monday, everybody's usually tied up with their own stuff anyway. Like they've got things that they need to go and handle. So it's usually like, all right, well, I can mostly be on my own devices on Monday, so let me squirrel it away then. And then Friday, nobody wants to work. So it's like they're happy to hop on a podcast. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, so that's how we're going to space it out, and it's worked well so far. But that's it, right? It's just like, I'm going to commit to this thing. This is when it's going to be. How can I make this tighter? Because you get into this decision making, right? It's like, if I don't know if you've dealt with this in the past with any sort of really task with where you have to reserve the time, where it's like, okay, well, I could do this thing, but I'd rather do this thing. So when you don't have that drive, it's like, if you're iffy on the podcast, I think you find out pretty quickly, because you're choosing to do the podcast instead of other things to some degree, right? Like you're blocking off that time. So you have to say no to other stuff. And like, that's a benefit. And I think for so many other people, it's the opposite. And that's why it falls apart.
Yeah, for sure. And, but plus it takes that decision making away from you in the minute, because you're like, okay, let's say you plan out your schedule Sunday night. You're like, okay, this week I'm going to for sure do this, this, and this. At that time, as long as you're disciplined enough to follow it, no matter what you're feeling, that it doesn't matter. That's what my schedule says I have to do. That's what I have to do. Because if you give yourself a little bit of wiggle room, then you're like, I know this is kind of the hard thing I haven't been looking forward to doing. And then, you don't have that set in stone. You're like, well, you know what, this one time I'm going to start doing this other thing. And then that first initial thing never gets done. And you start kicking yourself in the butt. So being able to block it off, be disciplined to follow it, that's going to allow you to get more done, because you're taking that decision making away from yourself in the moment, when you're the lazy part of your brain quips up and goes, hey, don't do that now. You'd rather go watch whatever, pull up YouTube short, whatever it is. In this way, it's like, nope, that's it. If I was at a job, my regular job, they would expect me to hear from here to here. I can at least treat what I want to do that way.
If you're listening to this, chances are that your business podcast is struggling, but you're not sure what's holding it back. That's why I created the Podcast Compass Quiz. And in just 5 minutes, you'll get clarity on what's working, what's not, and where to focus your energy next. Best part? It's completely free. So hit the link in the show notes to take the quiz now. So let me ask you this then, because we talk so much about like setting up the show and getting all these people on and the kind of work that you're doing a little bit after the fact. But where does the show go? Like you do the show, you record the show. What happens with the show? Where are all of the end products? Where are you placing parts of this show?
Yeah, so it's going out on like YouTube and Spotify and all that. But more so, what I've more recently did is it's going on my website and it's going out in a daily newsletter, because the whole purpose of what the I Know a Guy thing is it's better networking and you meet somebody new every single day. So the newsletter, it lands there, it has the embedded YouTube episode. So it goes out and it's like a 5-minute blog, says, here's this person. Do you want to know this person? Give it a quick read. If you're interested after reading that, here's the whole episode. Watch it, 15, 30-minute episode. If you're still interested after watching that episode, great. Here's their contact information. They're expecting a call from you. So that's the main source, is going out in that newsletter, because, we spend a lot of time and a lot of money networking, but if you can, meet somebody new every single day, and it takes 5 minutes to determine whether or not that's somebody that you want to invest more time in, right? That's invaluable. And it's free too, which is crazy, because a lot of people, like I said, they'll spend a lot of money networking to get introductions. I've been there. So yeah, it's going there, but it's also on YouTube. Like I said, it's probably my main source outside of it, and Spotify and likewise.
Yeah. So okay, and I mean it's just so great to see it all come together, right? Because that is the point. It's not just okay. I'm going to do the show and have these direct one-on-ones, but after the fact, hey, it's going to cover all these different marketing channels. You're building all these different relationships, and it's always bringing it back to you. And I would actually like to talk about you a little bit more, Anthony, just on the work side of it, because we haven't. It's funny, we've been talking for like 20 minutes and we haven't even touched on that yet. So like, just tell people a little bit more about what you actually do day to day.
Yeah, no. If you hear sirens in the background, I think something is on fire nearby, but it's not me. So just
And I've
that's
had some like hammering going on here, so don't worry about
yeah.
it. It's busy for both of us.
Okay, good. Because I keep muting myself. But anyway, so a bit about me. Yeah, I'm in the benefits space. I help businesses with 25 or more employees, pretty standard, where I'm helping them find money and save money in ways they might not know they have available to them, whether it's finding them discounts on their benefits, whether it's finding health management programs that can lead to payroll tax savings for them, employee raises, things like that. So there's a number of different areas where I work, and I like to call myself a business profit advocate because it's my job to go in there, say, hey, you're leaving $100,000 on the table every year. Do you want to not do that anymore? And if so, great. Let me make an introduction to so-and-so, right? Because it fits right into the brand of I know a guy. I'm not selling anything. I'm taking a look, finding a couple options that might be able to help your business. And if they do, great. If not, okay, well, then you're already doing the best out there. Awesome. Congratulations. So I spend a lot of time, meeting with business owners, meeting with professionals, and just kind of looking at their business as a whole and saying, okay, this might be a good addition to what you're doing, or it might be a good way to add employee retention. Let's talk about that.
Okay, so more specifically, what are some of those issues then? I mean, what are some of those main things that people deal with that you fix?
Yeah. So, I mean, if we're just talking straight benefits, one of the first things that I always ask a business owner is, are you married to your broker? If they say, yeah, my broker's my uncle, great. I'm not even going to talk about it because the last thing I want to do is cause some sort of disturbance at the Christmas dinner table, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But if they go, no, I'm not, I'm like, great. If we can empirically show you how you're overpaying 10 to 40% without making any disruptions, would you be willing to fire your broker? And we'll take a look and see whether or not we're able to help them. If we are, great. If they want to take that, that savings and use it somewhere in their business, that even better. Where I found a lot of synergies with what I do is other people that are in the B2B space that it's like, hey, Mr. Business Owner, I'm really happy that Rudy introduced us. I saved you $100,000 this year. He's coming in Monday to help you with, and then whatever the offer is. If he's a financial advisor, maybe they're talking 401ks, maybe they're talking financial literacy for all the employees that got a pay raise. If there's somebody in the network marketing space or marketing space, they go in and say, hey, we're gonna talk about the extra $100,000 you saved, and we're gonna talk about ad spend, and we're gonna turn it into whatever the ROI is, 5 times, 3 times, whatever it is. So if I could save that business owner money before they go to buy a boat with it, right? Maybe talk them down a trim level to help them, something in their business as well. So, helping them in that area, helping them with health management programs. We have some health management programs that lead to net savings for the business owner, saves them on their payroll taxes. The employees, they can receive a net pay raise as well. And they're getting added benefits that don't interfere with what they have. So if they don't offer major medical, let's say they're smaller, they're under 50, they don't have to, great. This isn't going to prevent your employees from going and getting subsidized ACA individual plans, whatever it is. If they do offer major medical, great. This isn't going to disrupt anything. It's just going to add added value to what you're already offering, increasing employee retention and attraction.
So I want to hit back on what you said there when you're opening up these conversations with people, because I love that opening question that you have, which is, hey, if I can improve your profits by 10 to 40 or whatever, make these increases in 10 to 40%. Now, you can reiterate the line even if you like when I finish here. But like to have that kind of opening, I think is so clean and smooth. And that's one of those issues. Like for me, I'm studying sales as we speak. Like I literally, let me lean over and grab this for you. Like I was gifted this book by a mentor literally today. I opened it up in the mail today, just talking about sales process. How can I tighten this stuff up? Different networks of people to sell to, all that. So like having that intro point of positioning yourself in a way where you can land that sale so easily, I think is part of the reason why people do podcasting, right? It's like, I want to get this message and I want to demonstrate this value and get these sales. But to do it in this format where you're in a studio or you're in your office or whatever, and do it where like, hey, I got to email this person or whatever, like can you talk a little bit more about opening up the conversation that way and like kind of the reactions you get?
Yeah. So there's 2 different kinds of the way that I'll open it. One is that where it's like, hey, are you married to your broker? If they're yay or nay, depends on what I say next. If they go, no, I'm not married. Great. If I can empirically show you how you're overpaying 10 to 40% without making any disruptions, would you be willing to fire a broker? Because then you're getting that affirmative to even talk about. Because if they say no, then great, fine. All right. I'm not going to waste your time. We can talk about something else. And then alternatively, depending on how you have your podcast set up, one of the cool things is if I walk into a business, and I just say, hey, I'd like to talk to you about your benefits, a percentage of them are going to tell you, go away. Right. But as a podcast host, if you walk into a business and say, hey, I really love what you guys are doing here. Would you be interested in being a guest on my show? 95% of them are going to say, yep, let's do that. The other 5% are going to say, come back tomorrow. I'm busy right now. Because everybody, like I said, entrepreneurs, they really like talking about themselves at every level. So it kind of gets that door open, because if you go to, a store and you're looking for something and somebody comes up, even though you need the thing, and they go, hey, can I help you find it? No, I'm good. Then you spend 30 minutes looking for the thing they could have just pointed at. It's the same thing when you're walking into a business. But if you're going in there and you're adding value without asking for anything, at the end of that interview, getting to know them, maybe they toured around their facility, maybe they kind of showed you what they do. You can ask them some questions. Hey, what are some pain points you're facing? I think we're paying too much for our benefits. Funny enough, that's what I do. Or with what I'm doing with this is, maybe they don't mention anything about benefits, but maybe they say, I could use help in XYZ. Odds are I know a guy. You know what? I've met a couple people that might be able to help you with that. Let me send you a couple episodes and let me know which one you'd like to meet. And then I was able to facilitate those relationships by adding value, making introductions for them that are going to lead to, business for them. So it's mutually beneficial there. But being able to approach it that way, where I'm not selling anything. I'm there to help you out if I can. If you mention you have a problem, I'll make a couple introductions that might be able to help you out. It's up to you whether or not you want to talk to them. If you say no to all of them, great. If you want to meet so-and-so, great. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not selling. I'm just there to make introductions, inform and introduce.
There's two things that are very interesting with that, because one is when I go to a lot of networking events, one of those things is, especially when it's like a round table, they'll say, give us your 30-second pitch. And people being able to deliver it so succinctly and cleanly is not easy a lot of times, or maybe it is easy, but everybody has a hard time doing it for themselves. How do I boil down when I'm spending every single day in this, and I've got all these ideas and philosophies, and I can help you so much, it's like, I don't need 30 seconds, I need 3 days. I will talk to you nonstop for 3 days to tell you how great I am. Please hire me. Like that's one of the complicated parts of this, is just like getting it out in such a succinct way. And then at that second level, being so matter of fact, like getting to those conversations where people truly open up. When you feel that, I mean, man, what a joy it is to have the conversation, right? Because it's like, okay, let's talk about real deep issues that are around your business. I'm not saying this with we're working together yet, but hey, here's some real things that I could help you with. And to actually, because then you really understand them. Like when everything initially is this kind of shell game almost of like, do I want to give them information about this? Do I want to tell them about that? Like you're almost wrestling, and it sucks. And to just be like, no, I can help you with some stuff. Do you want to talk about this stuff? Because like I could probably make it a lot better for you. Then hell yeah, it's such a relief when you get to that stage. But I think getting people there is really hard.
Yeah, it is. And that's an issue. A lot of people starting off in sales, they go, I have this really cool product you need to hear. Nobody wants to hear about it. 0 people want to hear about your really cool product. They want to know what you can do for them. That's kind of how it is. So if you have something that you can add of value, and you can go in without even asking for anything in return, if you can go provide value, even if it's just letting them talk about themselves for 30 minutes without interruption, they're going to want to reciprocate in some way, whether that's, listening to you in the same fashion, where you come back and you talk, and they're going to ask engaging questions, and they're going to know about what you do by the end of it. That's one way. Or, they're going to give you the time to do it. Because, if people are talking about their 30-second elevator pitch, the idea isn't that you're selling the thing in the 30-minute elevator pitch. It's that you're getting that follow-up meeting where you can actually talk. So it's absolutely not about what you're offering. It's absolutely not about, the value and blah, 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 blah. It's what you can do for them right then. Hey, you know what? I'd love to have you on my show. I think you've done some really cool things. Would you be opposed to, taking an hour being a guest? I'd love to share you around my network. Great. 100% success rate, or near enough too. Whereas if like, hey, I'd like to talk to you about your benefits, go away. Everybody wants to talk to you about benefits. And then the follow-ups, when you get that follow-up conversation, that's when you can get the, are you married to your broker? And then they're going to listen to you, because until you get their ear, it doesn't matter what you say.
It's not going to land. It's not going to sell, and they're just being polite at this point. Like there's and I've done the same thing on the other side, where within like I've been on dates like that, where it's literally like I'm 2 minutes into the date, and I'm like, oh shit, I've got to be here for another like 55 minutes. This is like it's just you gotta make sure that you hit that level first and do it the right way, because it's a disaster otherwise. But let me change gears a little bit, right? Because all that is so interesting, but and And like I said earlier, one of the benefits is I get to talk to these different people on this show and learn from them, like talking about sales with you the way we just did. You get to talk with people every single day just about, and you're learning from them all the time. Like having over 100 episodes at this point, meeting all the 100 different people. What are some of the best conversations with some of the favorite people that you've met? And what are some of the, or maybe even what are some of the most valuable things that you've learned from doing 100 episodes?
One of the things that keeps happening is there's overarching themes that you'll start to notice everybody talking about. Because one of the things that I always talk about is, the Zig Ziglar, help enough people get what they want, you get what you want. The reap what you sow, the golden rule, the karma, the go-giver. That general thing that we keep defining, because we're all defining the same thing. But a lot of the successful entrepreneurs and just people that you're going to remember talking to have some form of that they talk about. Whether hey, what advice would you give somebody starting off in the business? Add value, go out, have conversations, find a way to help that person without ever expecting anything in return. That's been the most overarching theme across the board with all the episodes. It just comes up. People just say it a different way every time, but it's the kind of the general law we keep falling back on, that leads to success. Because I like to say, if the universe was a giant vending machine and you put $1 in it, eventually $2 is going to come back out. How many dollars do you want to put into it, right? I'm stuffing it. I'm putting as many in as I can. I'm going to provide as much value to as many people as fast as I can, knowing that in some form or fashion it comes about. Even if all that happens is, no sales, no nothing, but if all that happens is there's more people out there that like me, that know what I do and will keep an ear out for me in case they come across somebody that would be that group of 25 employees or more, that could benefit from, savings on their benefits. And I'm just 1% higher in their mind. That's valuable. So the more people that know what you do and the more value you're able to do for them, the more they're going to want to reciprocate in some form of fashion, whether that be introductions, whether that be referrals, whether that be some sort of collaborations. You do that by doing the thing. I always like to say there's like a bell curve of people you're going to have conversations with. On the very far side, the bad side, you're going to have those people that come in and do nothing but pitch you. They're going to pitch slap you. Just you're going to remember that person just because you're going to never want to talk to them again. Then you're going to have a bunch of people in the middle that are some form of whatever that you might remember. Oh, they had a dog, I think, right? Then that's what you're going to remember. Then on the very opposite side, the people that you're going to remember, you're going to remember for the right reasons, are the ones that come into those meetings and go, how can I help you? Who are you looking to meet? What are some areas where, you might be facing some heartburn I might be able to alleviate for you? You're going to remember that person, but you're going to remember from the right reasons, and you're going to want to reciprocate. So, if you look at the grand scheme of things, be this person, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge, right? Because I've had times where just talking to different people, because like we did a pre-interview, right? So it's a 10-minute conversation before people come on the show. I get to know them a little bit. For me, when I'm doing the interview, it makes it easier because like I know a little bit more about you. It's not as much like let me understand what this thing is, and like a baby that's been presented with an object they've never seen before. Like let me try to bite this and see how it tastes. Like I don't have to do that. It's just like let's get right into the meat of the conversation. But it's also a chance for me, and this is why I recommend it for everybody, is to screen people, and for you it's a little different. You're meeting everybody, right? But like to have certain people where I bring them on the show with the idea of maybe you're going to be a guest, but then they're just talking at me and they don't feel like a team player, like it's not a conversation. They are overly selling me, things like that. It's just like, that's not what this is. That's not what I'm here for. The audience doesn't want it. Like I just reject those people because it's and same thing with the pitches. They won't even get the pre-interview if the whole thing is just like, hi, person, insert show name. Like you probably get those too. It's just like you have no idea what this show is about. You haven't looked at it. You don't know if it's even a fit for you or not. You're just trying to arbitrarily get on shows. So if you don't care about this, you're not trying to give the value. Why would I give you the time? And it has to be that reciprocal back and forth because I think the biggest thing that you said is that's so true there is when you do something for other people, they do want to give it back. And the way that I've seen that, because podcasting's a long game, networking is a long game. I mean, sometimes 2-3 years later, and I'll be curious to see how that goes for you. But I mean, thinking about 2-3 years down the line for you of like what kind of stuff comes back from the universe because somebody had a great conversation with you 2-3 years ago. I mean, it's very real.
You'd be surprised just what adding value to one person could do. Like you said, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the road where they still remember you. You might not even remember them too terrible much, and that's not you meet a lot of people. But something you said might resonate with somebody, and it just sticks with them. And if you could do that en masse, talk to a lot of people, add that level of value to a lot of people, it's crazy the way that it works. And it's crazy that people don't realize that. And to your point about those people that talk at you, one of my favorite things I've ever saw was I was in a networking group, and somebody and the host or whatever you call him says, "Who here has something to sell?" And everybody put their hands up. And he goes, "Who here wants to buy something today?" And everybody put their hands down. He's like, "Remember that, right? You're not selling anybody here at all. It's never worked in the history of sales at a networking event, just pitching everybody. All they're going to do is never talk to you again. So go in and try and meet the person. Don't talk about the product. It's who are you? Where are you from? What do you do? What do you love about it? I need to know what you do if I'm going to refer you. And I need to know what value it adds. That's an important part of it. But I need to know why you love what you do and why you're different than anybody else. Because there's a menu of options out there. I don't care what you do. There are a million other people out there offering the same thing. Why would they choose you on a menu of all those options? So be authentic, be yourself, and don't pitch slap. That's my advice.
Yeah, and that's kind of the post value add age, right? Like, because we're at a point now where everybody's posting all the time and everybody's mimicking the things they've seen. And at first, the value add posts were the things that were doing so well. But the thing that I've realized lately is the more that you do that, at some point, other people, those baseline values that people don't know, like everybody's posting that stuff because they're all industry experts and they know it too. But the thing, like your differentiator is, what is your opinion on why you should do this thing, or why is your opinion different from that? And yeah, being able to demonstrate those things. I mean, that's one of the beauties of podcasting too. It's like I get to talk about my business all the time, and as a business owner, you get to do that. So it's like, oh, I didn't even realize I thought this way about this. Like you realize the level of your own opinions, which essentially helps you sell. It's just so fascinating, like the self exploration that can come from it and how it really makes you stand out. So anyway, this has all been really interesting. Like Anthony, I mean, I think we've covered so much good ground here. Just before we wrap everything up, obviously, I know a guy, right? Now I can say to people, I know a guy, Anthony, he can help you out in so many different ways. He's connecting you with anybody on the planet. He's a living Rolodex. So Anthony, how can people participate in I Know a Guy? How can they keep up with you?
Two best ways. First is just go to the website, ikag.me. I post everything there. The newsletter goes out. You can subscribe. You can meet other awesome people. Because that's the idea behind I Know a Guy. Is it's not about me. I do minimal talking. I'm just the one making the introductions. There's a lot of awesome people out there doing awesome things that you should meet. You should meet more of them. That you don't know what the one connection you need that would really spring your business or, spring you into, the stratosphere or wherever you're wanting to go. There's somebody out there that you probably need to meet. So likely, eventually, they're going to be on there. So that's a good place to find them. Otherwise, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way. I can give that to you. You can put it in show notes. It's also on the website under podcast. It has all the places where you can go to all the places. But yeah, ikag.me is probably the best way.
Cool. Well, yeah, I'll be following you on LinkedIn as soon as we wrap this up. That's my thing. I'm always like, hey, let's connect. And I mean that, I want to see your stuff as you're posting and comment as it's relevant, so that's the game, right? It's like, hey, we have a great conversation. I want to keep in touch with this guy. So we will absolutely do that. But yeah, make sure you check out Anthony. Anthony has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time. And I'll be seeing you out in the networking stratosphere.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the show. Make sure to subscribe to the newsletter to get more podcast insights. That link is in the show notes. And if you're feeling stuck with your podcast, let's figure it out together. Book a free 10-minute chat with me. The link to do that is also in the show notes. Talk to you next week.